Hello, hello, everyone. Marjorie Roman here, and welcome back to another episode of Creating Wealth with the one and only Robert G. Allen.
Are you ready to make some money?
Yes, we are.
We're gonna figure that out for you right now.
And today we're going to talk about the goals that we should have as a real estate investor. So what are some of the personal goals that you had when you began your career?
I wanted to be a millionaire. I just did. I don't know why, but that's probably an American thing. But yeah, I want to be a millionaire. Of course, when I made my first million today, it would probably be worth maybe 5 million, because of inflation and everything else. But bottom line, that was my goal, and I tracked it. When I bought a property and it had 20,000 equity in it, one property with 20,000 equity, two properties with 60,000, a 12-unit apartment building with 100,000. So I just added it up every year. It took me just a little over 3 years to go from $1,000 that I got from when I graduated from the university from my father for a graduation gift. Actually, it was $1,500, but I spent $500 on a down payment on a car, which was really stupid. But anyway, turned that $1,000 into $1 million in 3-4 years.
Wow. So from $1,000 into a millionaire in just like 3 to 4 years. So for all our audience right there, you guys can do it. If Bob Allen did it with his secrets, you can do it as well. So tell me, what are some of the strategies that you used at the beginning of your career in order to achieve that much success in such a short time?
Well, let's just first, before we go there, let's go to what our viewers and our listeners are setting as a goal. Mm-hmm. I would rather that you set a different kind of goal than I set. Ooh. I said I wanted to be a net millionaire, which meant if I sold all the properties, paid off all the mortgages, that'd be $1 million left over. Mm-hmm. What I would rather you set a goal, a very different goal, which is to be financially free. So a financially free goal means how much income do you need to be earning on a monthly basis so that all of your bills are paid, the rent or a mortgage payment, car, housing, food, everything else, so that the streams of income flowing into your life pay for your life, so that from that day forward, you don't need a job, you don't need to work for someone else if you don't want to. And most people, when they set a goal like that, it's a very modest goal. I would prefer, rather than you set this big $1 million goal, which is kind of scary for some people, you set a modest goal like maybe $5,000 a month. Mm-hmm. $5,000 a month in residual streams of income while you sleep. The reason that having an equity goal versus a cash flow goal is when you have an equity goal, sometimes you're buying property with leverage, meaning you're putting small down payments. And so you might have equity, but cash flows are hard when you have so much debt on a property.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it's not wise, business wise, to be equity rich and cash flow poor. Mm-hmm. I would rather you be cash flow rich and not so rich that it's ridiculous, but $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, a modest goal, and that it'll force you to keep your expenses low. So I don't want you to make $100,000 on a piece of real estate, have an equity, and then say, I'm rich now. I get to go buy a big car. I can buy a better house. I can increase my living expenses. I don't want you to do that. I want you to remain poor, to look poor. Don't look rich. That's until right. Your cash flows have set you free. Then you can start to expand. You add a zero to your monthly cash flow. Instead of $5,000 a month, it's $50,000 a month. Mm-hmm. Don't get into the fancy, buying of going into debt and getting all kinds of looking rich instead of being rich. And of course, that's what I did when I got started. I looked rich. I got bigger and bigger houses and fancier cars. And as I look back over my life, I'm giving you the advice I would give myself. If I were to do it all over again, we would not have moved from that one home, in that one simple, basic home, into a much, much nicer home, I would have just stayed, piled up the cash, increased the cash flow. So that's right. That's my advice to a beginner today.
And here's the thing, I feel like it's so easy to become a millionaire. Like literally, if you were to win the lottery and you get your $1 million, you can blow it up as easy if
Yes.
you are not careful with it. So it's a really good advice that you tell us to be modest in our expenses, to make sure that we stay grounded, I guess, not just going for all the luxury items that we can see around us.
Because usually when a person does achieve sudden wealth, they immediately go off and buy all the toys. And it's just not smart. There's a book called The Millionaire Next Door by Stanley, I think is his name. And this came out maybe 20 years ago, but it's a brilliant book. It just talks about the fact that just because you live in a neighborhood with people that you may not know there are millionaires all around you because they're smarter. They're smarter. So good luck.
That's true. So thank you for giving us that advice in the case of goals. But what are some of the strategies that you used when you began your career in order to grow your wealth?
Real estate has dozens of ways of making money, and it's a fundamental need of every person you meet. They need a roof over their head, whether it's a mobile home or a condo or a single family home or an apartment building. They need a roof over their head. And so what I love about real estate is because everybody's familiar with it. You know, it's not like they have to start a brand new business where you go online and market products and you got to figure out websites and all that stuff. No, you're not familiar with that as much as a person lives in a home and they grew up in a home. So you start with residential real estate. You start with buying to rent or buying to flip. So flipping means, it's a fancy word. You hear all the television shows talking about it. You go in and you fix up a property, you turn around and you resell it really quickly. What I don't like about that strategy and hate about all these shows is because they really don't, well, they do, but they don't do it enough. Talk about the dangers of fix-up. Because you drive up and look at a home that's run down and it's in terrible condition. What is it going to cost to fix that up? There's no way to calculate truly what the real cost will be when you take off the sheetrock behind the walls, or are there any kind of mold or problems or plumbing issues and roof that might be leaking. I don't like to buy properties that I have to fix up. You see, there's no calluses on my hands. I don't like to do that kind of work because it's riskier and it requires you not only have to buy the property and put whatever down payment that is needed to buy it, or nothing down, even if it's nothing down, which is the name of my book, Nothing Down. But even if it's nothing down, if you're going to fix it up, there's investments to make, and sometimes there's no upside to those costs. They just keep going up and up and up, and it's really hard to control. You look at the countertops, and I can have a granite countertop, or I can have a plain countertop, and you go, well, it'd be much nicer if I had this granite countertop, but people would probably want to rent it more, and so the costs just go.
It just keeps adding up. I feel like
it keeps adding up. So bottom line is, I don't like to do that, but although that is one strategy, and it's very popular when you watch a lot of these fix and flip shows. I like to buy a property that's, when I walk into it, it's ready to go. It's ready to rent. There's no much more than $1,000 or $2,000 of increased a little paint here, maybe a toilet needs to be fixed there. Not really. It's move-inable, really, almost immediately. I don't want the problem to be in the property. I want the problem to be with the seller. The seller has a problem, not with the property. The seller has a personal problem somewhere else. And it forces them to let go of this piece of real estate that might be a good property. It might be very normal. I like to find deals like that. So therefore, my strategy is to look for highly motivated sellers, and they're very rare, maybe 1 in 20. And realtors, they don't believe that's even possible, so they're going to tell you that it's not possible to find deals like that. And are you kidding? Today, I can guarantee you, today, across America, thousands of properties were purchased, closed on today, on this day. And many of those properties were bought below the market from highly motivated sellers. Not all of them. Most of the properties that close on today were retail deals. That means they went to a realtor. The realtor showed them a retail property at a retail price, just like going to a store. There's no sales going on in the retail world of real estate. It's pay whatever the listing price says it is, especially when there's a lot of demand for property in your city. So let's say probably 90% of the houses that closed today, all across America, were retail deals, not below the market. But 5 to 10% of the properties that closed today were closed by investors who had systems for finding highly motivated sellers, usually off market. That means the realtor hasn't listed the property. It's not available publicly for everybody to go to one spot and therefore say, I like that property. And then everybody looks at the same thing and they all show up at the same time to make an offer on the same property to push the property above retail. How stupid is that? So you want to be in the 10% of the closings that happen today that were wholesale, because that's what investors do. Your mindset is, I don't pay retail. And if it turns out to be the property is retail, and the seller won't budge on that, the only way you'll ever pay what the seller wants or the realtor has listed it for is if you have inside knowledge that the property that is being listed is actually wholesale, because you know something the seller doesn't know. You might know there's a mall going across the street, that there's new freeway that's going to come over, side next to the property. Maybe there's a new shopping mall or a new office building
or a new zoning opportunity.
It's things for rezoning, exactly, where I can take it from a residential zone to a commercial zone, which would maybe double its value. And therefore, if you had some secret knowledge where you'd been down to the county, you'd researched with the county planning department, you figured out where the future of the city is going to go, and you realize that there's really going to be an increased value down the road, yeah, you can pay retail for a property as long as you know that the wholesale is just around the corner. Maybe fixing it up, maybe adding a bedroom, maybe converting it into a duplex, whatever legally you can do to dramatically increase its value. Maybe you turn it into a assisted living home. Now, think about that for a minute. Assisted living means that you're going to rent it out to people who have government-sponsored rental situations where it might be $2,000 or $3,000 per bedroom. You got a 3-bedroom house. Instead of renting it out for $1,500 a month, you're going to rent it out for $10,000 a month. So now you turned it into a business. It's not just a piece of real estate that's owned that you can buy for $500,000. It's now a business that you could now turn into a massive cash flow situation for yourself. And when you sell it to somebody else, you're not selling the real estate only, you're selling the business that goes with it and the substantially increased value of that. So back to the wholesale conversation. You're a wholesaler. You mean you're a business person. So don't speculate. Just remember 2008, 2009. Just remember, it was speculation city. Everyone was speculating, hoping it would go up in value. It was dumb. It was stupid. And trillions of dollars were lost because of that stupidity. We don't do that. Learn from that mistake. If there's 20 people bidding on a property, get out. Don't bid.
21st.
Get away. Go. Goodbye. Don't even think about it. There are better deals off market, and you have to dig them out, which I can show you how to do.
That's true. And you'd be surprised. There are so many good deals around, and literally there are people that have problems still. Problems are never going to end. People are always going to have like an emergency or something. So
today, all across America, there were, 50,000 divorces. 20,000 notices of default that were filed for a person who couldn't make their mortgage payments. The bank is going to foreclose on it. There were 20,000 people got a notification from their doctor that they only have a few more months to live. I mean, these changes, these problems occurred every day, every single day. thousands and thousands and thousands of properties are owned by people who have problems that are not related to the property itself, related to their personal problems. So it's never ending. Tomorrow, there'll be a whole brand new crop. Now, you say there are lots of properties. Well, nationwide, yeah, there'll be thousands of great deals. But in your city, there might be 50, and you're competing with maybe 1,000 other real estate investors in your city. So we make it sound like it's easy. It isn't easy, but it's certainly worth it. How many properties do you need to buy? 1 a year, 2? You buy 1 property in a year and make more money on that 1 property than you would working at a job you hate for 300 days a year. Every day going to a job that you despise. If you just pulled back and invested an entire year of your life, take your savings and just go all in on finding 1 great real estate deal. Would you find it? In my opinion, of course you would. Would it be easy? No, it won't. But 1 property in 1 year, you can do that.
That's true. No better advice than that. So thank you so much again, Bob. And thank you to our audience. So there you have it. 1 property is all you need to change your life into a real estate investor and start building your future for you and your family. We're going to see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.